She walked into that cafe in a red dress, curves that turned every head in the room, and one cold-hearted man muttered the words that would change everything. Not my type. But what started as dismissal became obsession when danger found her doorstep, and the ruthless Mafia boss who rejected her suddenly couldn't let her go. He broke his own rules to protect her. He shattered his walls to love her. And when his past came for blood, she became the only woman who could save them all, along with the mute child who would finally give them both a reason to believe in redemption. This is the story of a woman who was judged, desired, and chosen, and the broken man who learned that love doesn't ask permission to heal your heart. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because this romance is about to prove that the most dangerous thing in the world isn't a man with power. It's a man with nothing left to lose. The morning sun crept through the thin curtains of Naomi's apartment, painting stripes of gold across the worn carpet. She opened her eyes and listened. Silence. That meant Lucia was still asleep. Naomi sat up slowly, her body aching from another night on the lumpy couch. The bedroom belonged to Lucia now. It had been 8 months since her sister Maya died, 8 months since everything changed. The grief still sat heavy in her chest, but she couldn't let it show. Not in front of Lucia. She padded across the small living room and pushed open the bedroom door. Lucia lay curled on her side, dark curls spread across the pillow, her 7-year-old face peaceful in sleep. Naomi's heart squeezed. She looked so much like Maya. "Hey, sweetie," Naomi whispered, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Time to wake up." Lucia's eyes fluttered open. She looked at Naomi for a long moment, then sat up without a word. She never spoke anymore. Not since the funeral. Naomi helped her get dressed in jeans and a purple sweater, then braided her hair while Lucia sat perfectly still. The silence between them was familiar now, but it still hurt. Naomi kept up a gentle stream of chatter, filling the quiet. "I've got to pick up some catering supplies this morning," she said, securing the braid with a purple hair tie. "Just for a couple hours. Mrs. Chen next door said she'd watch you. Is that okay?" Lucia nodded once. "Good girl." Naomi kissed the top of her head. "Let's get some breakfast." They ate cereal together at the tiny kitchen table. Naomi watched Lucia push the colorful rings around her bowl, barely eating. The doctor said to give her time. Everyone said to give her time. But how much time did a child need to find her voice again? After dropping Lucia with Mrs. Chen, Naomi changed into the only nice dress she owned. It was red, fitted, and she'd bought it years ago for a job interview that never panned out. She smoothed it over her curves and checked herself in the mirror. Her dark skin glowed against the bright fabric. Her natural hair was pulled back in a neat bun. She looked put together, even if she didn't feel it. The dress was maybe too much for a simple pickup, but the cafe was in the wealthy part of town. She wanted to look like she belonged, even if she didn't. Naomi took the bus across the city, watching the neighborhoods change from run-down to renovated, from corner stores to boutiques. By the time she reached Adriano's cafe, everything looked expensive. The windows gleamed. Well-dressed people sat at outdoor tables, sipping drinks that probably cost more than her grocery budget. She took a deep breath and walked inside. The cafe was beautiful. White marble floors, exposed brick walls, warm lighting that made everything look like a photograph. The smell of fresh coffee and baked bread filled the air. Naomi approached the counter, trying to ignore the way conversations paused as she passed. She felt the stares. She always did. A curvy black woman in a tight red dress drew attention whether she wanted it or not. She kept her head high and focused on the young man behind the counter. "I'm here to pick up an order for Blake," she said. "Catering supplies." "Sure thing. Give me just a minute." While she waited, Naomi let her gaze drift around the cafe. That's when she saw him. He sat in the back corner, almost hidden in shadow. Dark suit, dark hair, a face carved from stone. He looked like money and power and danger, all wrapped into one. 2 other men sat with him, but he was clearly in charge. Everything about him said so, and he was staring at her. Naomi felt heat creep up her neck. She lifted her chin and stared back, refusing to look away first. His expression didn't change. Cold, assessing, like she was something curious, but ultimately unimportant. One of the men with him, broad-shouldered with a thick beard, leaned over and said something. The dark-haired man's lip curled slightly. Naomi couldn't hear the words, but she could read his mouth. "Not my type." The words hit like a slap. Naomi froze, her hands clenching into fists. Heat flooded her face, but this time it wasn't embarrassment. It was anger. Not his type, like she'd asked to be. Before she could stop herself, Naomi turned fully toward him. The cafe seemed to hold its breath. She looked him dead in the eye and spoke clearly, her voice carrying across the quiet space. "Good thing I didn't ask to be." The man's eyes widened slightly. Just a fraction, but enough. The bearded man beside him coughed, trying to hide a laugh. The tension in the room shifted. Naomi turned back to the counter, her heart pounding. What was she thinking? These men looked dangerous, the kind of dangerous that didn't take disrespect lightly, but she was tired of being dismissed, tired of being judged by men who didn't know her. "Here you go," the counter guy said, sliding over a box of supplies. His eyes were wide, impressed or terrified. She couldn't tell. "Thank you." Naomi took the box, held it against her chest and walked toward the door. She could feel those cold eyes on her back the entire way. Outside, she finally let herself breathe. Her hands shook slightly as she adjusted her grip on the box. That was stupid. So stupid. But God, it had felt good. She started down the sidewalk, trying to put distance between herself and the cafe. She made it half a block before she heard the footsteps behind her. Fast. Too fast. Naomi turned just as someone grabbed her purse and yanked. She stumbled, crying out, but held on instinctively. The thief was young, maybe 16, with wild eyes and quick hands. He pulled harder, and the strap dug into her shoulder. "Let go," he hissed. "No!" Naomi pulled back, the box falling from her arms and spilling supplies across the sidewalk. She wasn't losing this. She couldn't afford to lose this. Her wallet, her keys, Lucia's asthma inhaler. Everything was in that purse. The kid twisted the strap and shoved her. Naomi's heel caught on the curb and she fell backward, arms windmilling. She was going down, going to crack her head on the pavement. Strong hands caught her. Naomi gasped, suddenly upright, suddenly steady. She looked up into the coldest eyes she'd ever seen. The man from the cafe. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Tall, broad, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow. His hands on her waist were firm, impersonal. "I've got you," he said, his voice low and rough. Then he was gone, moving so fast it didn't seem real. The thief had barely taken 3 steps before the man slammed him against the brick wall of the building. The kid's feet left the ground. The purse dropped. "You made a mistake," the man said, his voice terrifyingly calm. I'm sorry. The kid's voice cracked with fear. "Please, man, please." The man held him there for a long moment, then let go. The kid dropped, scrambled to his feet, and ran like his life depended on it. It probably did. The man picked up Naomi's purse and turned. He walked back to her, his expression unreadable, and held it out. Naomi took it with shaking hands. "Thank you." He said nothing, just looked at her with those empty eyes, then turned and walked back toward the cafe. "Wait," Naomi called. Thank you. Really." He paused, glanced back over his shoulder. "Be careful," he said. Then he was gone, disappearing into the crowd like he'd never been there at all. Naomi stood there, trembling, her purse clutched to her chest. She looked down at the scattered supplies, at her dress now smudged with dirt, at her hands still shaking. Not his type. The words echoed in her head, mixing with the memory of his hands catching her, holding her safe. What had just happened? That night, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She'd picked up Lucia, made dinner, gone through the bedtime routine, everything normal. But when she climbed into her makeshift bed on the couch, exhaustion pulling at her, she felt it, a prickling awareness, like eyes on her skin. She told herself it was nothing, just leftover nerves from the afternoon. But sleep wouldn't come. At midnight, she heard it, the creak of the front door. Naomi's heart stopped. She'd locked that door. She always locked it. She sat up slowly, quietly, reaching for her phone on the coffee table. Her fingers found it just as the door swung open. A figure stood in the doorway, backlit by the hallway light. Tall, male, searching. Naomi's scream tore through the apartment. The figure cursed and ran. Footsteps pounded down the hallway. Naomi scrambled off the couch, her whole body shaking, and slammed the door shut. She threw the deadbolt, the chain, pressed her back against it. Then she heard the second scream. "Lucia!" Naomi ran to the bedroom. Lucia sat up in bed, her face twisted in terror, mouth open in a silent wail. No sound came out, but her whole body shook. Tears streamed down her face. "Baby, baby, I'm here." Naomi gathered her up, held her tight. "I'm here. You're safe." Lucia clung to her, sobbing without sound, her little body trembling. Naomi rocked her, whispered soothing words, but her mind raced. Someone had broken in. Someone had opened her door, like the lock meant nothing. What did they want? Why didn't they take anything? She held Lucia until the silent sobs faded to hiccups, until the little girl's grip loosened and her breathing evened out. But even then, Naomi didn't let go. She kept her niece close, kept watch through the long, dark hours. When morning finally came, Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. New lock being delivered. Accept it. Her blood ran cold. How did they get her number? Who was this? 20 minutes later, a knock on the door nearly stopped her heart. Naomi checked the peephole and saw a man in a uniform carrying a toolbox, a logo on his shirt, Moretti Security Solutions. Moretti. Where had she heard that name? Who sent you? Naomi called through the door. Mr. Moretti, ma'am. I'm here to install a new lock system. No charge. No charge. Naomi's jaw clenched. She opened the door but blocked the entrance with her body. I didn't ask for this. No, ma'am, but Mr. Moretti insists. He said to tell you... The man checked a note on his phone. He said to tell you be careful means something in his world. The man from the cafe. Naomi's hands trembled with anger. Tell Mr. Moretti he can't just... There's also groceries being delivered in an hour, the man interrupted gently. For the little girl. Mr. Moretti noticed she didn't eat much yesterday at the cafe. Naomi's breath caught. He'd been watching them. How much had he seen? Please, ma'am, the man said, let me install the lock. You need it. He was right. She did. And pride wouldn't keep Lucia safe. Naomi stepped aside, her jaw tight, and let him in. The lock took an hour to install. When the man left, Naomi stared at the new heavy-duty deadbolt, the reinforced strike plate, the security chain that actually looked secure. Then the groceries arrived. Boxes of food, all healthy, all things a child would like. Fresh fruit, whole grain bread, juice boxes. At the bottom of the last box sat an envelope. Naomi opened it with shaking hands. Inside was $500 in cash and a note in sharp, precise handwriting. For whatever you need, this isn't charity, it's protection. Accept it. No signature, no name, just those words in black ink. Naomi sank onto the couch, the money clutched in her fist. She should be grateful, she should be relieved. But all she felt was fury. Who did this man think he was? Watching her, tracking her, sending gifts and locks and money like she was some charity case to manage. Not his type. The words burned in her memory. Lucia padded into the room, drawn by the boxes. Her eyes widened at the groceries. She picked up an apple, looked at Naomi with questioning eyes. It's okay, baby, Naomi said softly. It's for you. Lucia bit into the apple, and for just a moment, something like happiness flickered across her face. Naomi's anger dimmed. This wasn't about her pride. It was about Lucia. Whatever this man's game was, Lucia was eating. Lucia was safer behind that new lock, but that didn't mean Naomi had to accept it quietly. The next morning, Naomi marched into Adriano's cafe like she owned the place. She'd left Lucia with Mrs. Chen again, made sure the new lock was secure, and caught the bus across town with fury driving her forward. She pushed through the door and scanned the room. There. Same corner, same table, same cold-eyed man in his expensive suit. He looked up as she approached, no surprise in his expression, like he'd been expecting her. You, Naomi said, stopping at his table. We need to talk. The bearded man stood immediately, moving to block her. Miss, you need to... Let her speak, Gio, the dark-haired man said. His voice was calm, almost amused. Gio sat down slowly, but his eyes never left Naomi. Watching, waiting. Naomi planted her hands on the table and leaned forward. You can't just do that. You can't just send people to my home, install locks, leave money like I'm some kind of project. I can, he said simply. I did. I don't want your help. You need it. That's not for you to decide. Someone broke into your apartment. His voice was quiet, but there was steel underneath. Someone who knew your lock was cheap and easy. Someone who might come back. You have a child to protect. So yes, it is for me to decide. Naomi's hand shook. Why? Why do you even care? I'm not your type, remember? Something flickered across his face. Regret, maybe, or something darker. That was careless. I apologize. I don't want your apology. I want you to leave me alone. He studied her for a long moment, those cold eyes reading every line of her face. I can't do that. Why not? Because you're not safe. And now that I know it, I can't look away. He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping. Someone is watching you, Naomi Blake. Someone dangerous. The break-in was a message. To me. Naomi's blood ran cold. To you? I don't even know you. My name is Dante Moretti, and you should know that when you shouted at me in this cafe yesterday, you made an impression on me and on everyone watching, including some very dangerous people. That's not my fault, Naomi whispered, but fear was creeping in now. No, it's mine. Dante's jaw tightened. I should have been more careful, but I wasn't, and now they think you matter to me. But I don't. No, his eyes held hers. But they don't know that, and until they do, you're in danger. Naomi stepped back, her mind reeling. This couldn't be real. This was insane. So what, you're going to watch me forever? Send groceries and guards? Control my life because you said something stupid? I'm going to keep you safe, Dante said, whether you like it or not. That's not protection, that's prison. Call it what you want. He picked up his coffee, dismissing her. Gio will keep an eye on you. Don't try to lose him, it won't work. You can't. I can. I will. He looked up at her one more time, and something in his eyes made her breath catch. Determination, and maybe buried deep concern. Go home, Naomi, lock your door. Let me do my job. Naomi wanted to scream. She wanted to throw his money in his face, tell him where to shove his protection. But the truth was, she was scared. That break-in had been real, and if he was right, if someone was watching her because of him. Fine, she said through clenched teeth, but this doesn't mean I trust you. Good. Dante's lip almost curved. Almost. Trust would be foolish. Naomi turned and walked away, her whole body tight with frustration and fear. Behind her, she heard Gio stand and follow. She didn't look back. That night, she held Lucia extra close at bedtime. The new lock gleamed in the lamplight. Outside, she knew someone was watching. Protecting or hunting, she couldn't tell. Lucia curled against her side, and in the quiet darkness, she whispered something so soft, Naomi almost missed it. I don't want him to die like Mommy. Naomi's breath caught. Lucia's eyes were closed, but tears leaked from the corners. She was talking about Dante, about the danger, about loss she'd already lived through once. He won't, baby, Naomi whispered, gathering her close. No one's going to die, I promise. But in her heart, she wondered if that was a promise she could keep. 4 days passed. 4 days of Gio following her everywhere, a shadow in a black SUV. 4 days of watching Lucia grow quieter, more withdrawn, barely eating. 4 days of Naomi jumping at every sound. On the 5th day, everything changed. Naomi stood outside Lucia's school, waiting for dismissal. Other parents chatted around her, but she stood apart, eyes scanning the street. That's when she saw it. A black sedan, parked across the street, engine running, tinted windows, no plates, and someone inside was watching her. Naomi's heart hammered. She looked around for Gio's SUV and saw it parked a block down. Too far. The school doors opened and children poured out, laughing and shouting. Naomi pushed through the crowd, searching for Lucia. There, the purple backpack, the dark curls. Naomi grabbed Lucia's hand and pulled her close. We're going, Naomi said. Now. She started toward Gio's SUV, walking fast, but the black sedan suddenly pulled forward, cutting through traffic, positioning itself between them and safety. The back window rolled down. A man stared out at her, older, scarred, with empty eyes that made Dante's look warm by comparison. Tell Moretti, the man said, his voice carrying, that his protection isn't enough. The window rolled up. The sedan peeled away, tires screaming. Naomi stood frozen, Lucia pressed against her side. Around them, parents stared. Someone asked if she was okay. Naomi couldn't answer, couldn't breathe. Gio appeared, running, his hand inside his jacket. Get in the car now! Naomi didn't argue. She scooped Lucia up and ran. Gio threw open the SUV door, and they dove inside. He was on the phone before the door even closed, driving fast, his voice rapid and urgent. Dante, we have a problem. Rico's men just made contact. Directly. In front of witnesses. A pause. Yes, she saw him. No, they're both fine. For now. Another pause. Longer this time. Understood. Gio ended the call and looked at Naomi in the rearview mirror. His face was grim. Dante wants you and the girl at his place immediately. No, Naomi said automatically. We're going home. Home isn't safe anymore. Neither is anywhere near Dante Moretti. You're wrong. Gio's voice was hard. Right now, Dante's home is the only safe place in this city. Rico Santini just declared war. You're standing in the middle of the battlefield. Lucia whimpered, the first sound she'd made. Naomi held her tighter, her mind racing. Every instinct screamed to run, to take Lucia far from these dangerous men and their wars. But where could they go? She had no money, no family left, nowhere to hide, and that man's eyes. Tell Moretti his protection isn't enough. Please, Gio said, softer now. Let Dante help. He won't let anything happen to you, either of you. Naomi closed her eyes. She thought of the new lock on her door, useless against men like these. She thought of Lucia's fear, her silence, the way she'd already lost so much. She thought of Maya dying too young, making Naomi promise to keep her daughter safe. Okay, Naomi whispered. Okay. Gio nodded and drove. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a building that looked like it cost more than Naomi would make in 10 lifetimes. Glass and steel, rising into the sky with security everywhere. Gio led them through a private entrance into an elevator that required a keycard, up to the top floor. The penthouse doors opened and Naomi's breath caught. The space was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city, modern furniture in blacks and greys, sharp lines and expensive taste. Everything cold and perfect and completely intimidating. Dante stood in the center of it all, still in his suit, phone pressed to his ear. When he saw them, he ended the call immediately. Are you hurt? His eyes scanned them both, sharp and assessing. No, Naomi said. Just scared. Good. Fear keeps you alert. He moved closer, his presence somehow both threatening and protective. You'll stay here, both of you. The guest rooms are down the hall. Everything you need is provided. For how long? As long as it takes. Takes for what? Dante's jaw tightened. For me to end this. The words hung in the air, heavy with violence. Naomi shivered. Lucia pressed closer against her leg, silent and trembling. She needs to eat, Naomi said quietly, and sleep. She's terrified. Something shifted in Dante's expression. He looked down at Lucia, really looked at her, and for just a moment, the coldness cracked. What's her name? Lucia. Lucia. He repeated it like he was tasting the word. Then he crouched down, bringing himself to the little girl's level. You're safe here, Lucia. I promise, no one will hurt you in my home. Lucia stared at him with wide, dark eyes. She didn't speak, didn't nod, but she didn't hide either. Dante stood and gestured down the hallway. The master suite is yours. I'll take the office. Kitchen is fully stocked. Help yourself to anything. Why are you doing this? Naomi asked. Dante met her eyes. Because I made a mistake, and you're paying for it. That ends now. He walked away before she could respond, pulling out his phone again, his voice dropping to that cold, commanding tone. Naomi stood in the middle of the beautiful, empty penthouse, holding Lucia's hand, and wondered what kind of prison she'd just agreed to enter. But when she looked down at Lucia, saw the exhaustion and fear in her little face, she knew she'd made the right choice. Safety first, pride later. Come on, baby, Naomi whispered. Let's find somewhere to rest. They walked down the long hallway together, and behind them, Dante's voice carried, making calls, giving orders, preparing for war. And somehow, despite everything, Naomi felt the smallest bit safer than she had in days. The master suite was bigger than Naomi's entire apartment. She stood in the doorway, Lucia's hand in hers, and stared. A king-sized bed with crisp white sheets, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city lights beginning to twinkle in the dusk. A bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. Everything spotless, expensive, untouched. This is too much, Naomi whispered. But Lucia was already pulling away, drawn to the windows. She pressed her small hands against the glass, looking out at the world far below. For the first time in hours, her shoulders relaxed slightly. Naomi set down the small bag Gio had grabbed from their apartment. Everything they owned fit in one duffel. She looked around at the luxury surrounding them and felt completely out of place. A soft knock made her turn. Dante stood in the doorway, his jacket off now, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired, human almost. There's food in the kitchen, he said. Gio picked up things for a child. If there's something specific she likes. She doesn't eat much, Naomi interrupted quietly. Not since her mother died. Dante's expression shifted. When? 8 months ago, car accident. Naomi's throat tightened. My sister. Lucia hasn't spoken since the funeral. Dante looked at the little girl by the window, something unreadable crossing his face. Not at all. Not a word. Naomi moved to Lucia, touched her shoulder gently. The doctors say it's trauma, that she'll speak when she's ready, but I don't know if that's true anymore. Silence filled the room. Then Dante spoke, his voice rougher than before. My daughter doesn't speak either. Naomi's head snapped up. You have a daughter. She's 7, like yours. He paused. Like Lucia. Where is she? With my mother. In the country. Safer there. Dante's jaw worked. She stopped talking after my wife died. 3 years ago. The air felt heavy. Naomi stared at this dangerous man and saw something she hadn't expected. Pain. Deep and old and still bleeding. I'm sorry, she said softly. Don't be. I'm the reason she's silent. Dante's voice was flat. I failed them both. Before Naomi could respond, he turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. She stood there, her heart aching for reasons she didn't want to examine. Lucia tugged on her hand, pointing at the bed, tired, ready to hide from the world. Okay, baby, Naomi said. Let's get you ready for bed. That night, Lucia refused to sleep unless Naomi stayed beside her. So Naomi climbed into the massive bed, held her niece close and listened to the sounds of the penthouse. Footsteps, low voices, phones ringing, the machinery of protection grinding through the night. She was almost asleep when she heard it, soft and tentative, barely there, singing. Naomi's eyes flew open. Lucia was humming. The melody was familiar, one Maya used to sing, a lullaby about stars and dreams and safety. Tears filled Naomi's eyes. She didn't move, didn't speak, afraid to break the spell. Just listened as Lucia hummed herself to sleep, the first sound she'd made in months that wasn't a scream. When the humming finally faded, Naomi held her closer and let herself cry. Quiet tears of relief and sorrow and desperate hope. She didn't know that down the hall Dante stood frozen outside his office door. He'd heard it too. The lullaby, the same one his wife used to sing to their daughter. His hand braced against the wall. His chest felt tight, like something was cracking open after years of being frozen solid. He slid down to the floor, his back against the wall, and for the first time in 3 years, Dante Moretti let himself break. Morning came with the smell of coffee. Naomi woke slowly, Lucia still curled against her side. Sunlight streamed through the windows, bright and warm. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then reality crashed back. She eased out of bed, careful not to wake Lucia, and pulled on the robe she'd found in the closet. It was too big, probably Dante's, but it was soft and warm. She padded down the hallway toward the kitchen. Dante sat at the massive dining table, laptop open, phone in hand, multiple conversations happening at once. He looked like he hadn't slept. His hair was messier than yesterday, his jaw shadowed with stubble. Gio stood nearby, coffee in hand, reporting something in a low voice. When Naomi entered, both men looked up. There's food, Dante said, gesturing to the kitchen. Help yourself. Naomi nodded and moved past them, acutely aware of how out of place she was. She found the kitchen spotless and organized. The fridge was stocked with fresh fruit, yogurt, juice. The pantry had cereal and bread and everything a child might need. She made toast and poured juice, then carried it back to the bedroom for Lucia. The little girl was awake, sitting up in bed, looking lost and small in the huge space. Morning, sweetie, Naomi said, forcing brightness into her voice. Breakfast time. Lucia ate a few bites of toast, sipped the juice, then pushed it away. Naomi tried not to show her worry. Every meal was a battle, every bite a small victory. Want to explore a little? Naomi asked. See what's here? Lucia shrugged, but she took Naomi's hand when offered, and together they ventured out into the penthouse. The place was enormous. Multiple bedrooms, bathrooms, a study, a gym, a media room. Everything perfect and cold and expensive, but no toys, no color, no life. They found Dante in his office, surrounded by papers and screens. He looked up when they appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable. Can we go outside? Naomi asked. Even just to the balcony? No. Dante's answer was immediate. Not until I say it's safe. She needs fresh air. She's a child. She's alive. That's what matters right now. His voice was hard, brooking no argument. Naomi's jaw tightened. So we're prisoners. You're protected. There's a difference. Not to me. Dante turned back to his laptop, dismissing them. Naomi led Lucia away, anger simmering in her chest. But what could she do? He was right. Outside those walls was danger. Inside was a cage. They spent the morning exploring the penthouse, finding nothing meant for children. Lucia grew quieter, more withdrawn. By lunch, she wouldn't eat at all. That afternoon, Naomi heard voices in the hallway. She cracked open the bedroom door and listened. The men are asking questions, Gio was saying. About her, about why she's here. Tell them she's under my protection, Dante replied. That's all they need to know. Some of them think she's a weakness, a distraction. Then they're fools. Dante's voice was cold. and fools don't last long in this business. A pause. Then Gio spoke again, carefully. What about Lucia, your Lucia? She stays where she is, safe. When will you see her? Silence, long and heavy. Then Dante spoke, his voice rough. When I'm no longer a danger to her. Dante. That's final, Gio. Footsteps walked away. Naomi closed the door quietly, her heart aching. He had a daughter he wouldn't see, a child who'd lost her voice, just like Lucia, and he blamed himself. She understood that. She blamed herself too, for not being there when Maya needed her, for not seeing the danger before it was too late, for every moment Lucia spent in silence. That evening, after another barely touched meal, Naomi tucked Lucia into bed early. The little girl looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. Naomi sat beside her, stroking her hair, humming the lullaby from last night. Lucia's eyes drifted closed, but she didn't hum along this time, just listened, small and still and far away. When she was finally asleep, Naomi stepped out into the hallway. The penthouse was quiet. She thought about going back to the bedroom, hiding away, but something drew her forward. She found Dante on the balcony, the one he'd forbidden them from using. He stood at the railing, looking out at the city, a glass of something dark in his hand. He didn't turn when she approached. I said inside only, he said. You said she couldn't come out here. You didn't say anything about me. Naomi stepped up beside him, keeping space between them. How long are we staying? As long as necessary. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Dante took a drink, his profile sharp against the city lights. Rico Santini wants revenge for something that happened 5 years ago. He's been patient, but now he's moving and he thinks you're leverage because of what I said to you in the cafe. Yes. So this is my fault? No. Dante turned to look at her, his eyes fierce. It's mine. I should have been more careful. I shouldn't have looked at you like... He stopped, jaw clenching. Like I wasn't your type, Naomi finished, unable to keep the bitterness from her voice. I was lying. The words came out quiet, almost angry. You walked into that cafe, and every man in the room noticed, including me, especially me. But I couldn't show it, not there, not in front of my men. Naomi's breath caught. Why not? Because showing interest is showing weakness in my world, and weakness gets people killed. He looked away again. But I was careless anyway. Rico's men were watching. They saw me catch you when you fell. They saw me handle that thief. That was enough. I don't understand your world, Naomi said softly. Good. You shouldn't have to. Dante finished his drink and set the glass down. But you're in it now, and I'll do whatever it takes to get you out safely. Even if it means keeping us locked up? Even then. Naomi shivered in the cool night air. Dante noticed, shrugged off his jacket and held it out. She hesitated, then took it. The fabric was warm from his body, smelling of expensive cologne and something darker. Smoke, maybe, or danger. Your daughter, Naomi said quietly. Why don't you see her? Dante's whole body went rigid. That's not your concern. She's 7, like Lucia, and she's silent, like Lucia. That makes it my concern. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me. Naomi turned to face him fully. Help me understand why a father would choose to stay away from his child. Because I'm the reason she's broken. Dante's voice cracked, raw and sudden. My wife died giving birth to her. Complications. Something that shouldn't have happened. And I blamed... He stopped, his hands gripping the railing. I blamed the wrong person for too long. You blamed your daughter. I blamed a baby who had no choice, who didn't ask to be born, who lost her mother before she even knew her. Dante's knuckles were white. By the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. She was already silent, already scared of me, and I didn't know how to fix it. Naomi's chest ached. So you sent her away. I sent her somewhere safe, with people who could give her what I couldn't. He finally looked at Naomi and his eyes were haunted. Love, warmth, a normal life. But she needs her father. She needs to be safe from me. That's not the same thing. Dante turned away again, ending the conversation with silence. Naomi stood there a moment longer, then left him alone with his grief and guilt. Back in the bedroom, she found Lucia still sleeping. Naomi climbed into bed beside her, Dante's jacket still wrapped around her shoulders. She closed her eyes and tried not to think about the broken man on the balcony, or the broken little girl in the country, or the way her heart hurt for both of them. The next morning, everything shifted. Naomi woke to find Lucia gone from the bed. Panic seized her immediately. She threw off the covers and ran into the hallway, calling Lucia's name. Nothing. Silence. Lucia! Naomi's voice climbed higher. "Lucia, where are you?" She checked every room, her heart pounding. The kitchen empty, the living room empty, the bathrooms all empty. Fear clawed at her throat. Then she heard it, a voice, low and steady, coming from behind a closed door. Dante's office. Naomi pushed the door open and froze. Dante sat on the floor, his back against the desk, a book open in his lap, and beside him, curled up small and listening, was Lucia. He was reading to her. His voice was different than Naomi had ever heard it. Soft, almost gentle, reading about a princess and a dragon and a kingdom far away. Lucia's eyes were fixed on the book, wide and attentive. She didn't smile, but she wasn't afraid either. Dante looked up and saw Naomi. For a moment, something like shame crossed his face. He started to close the book to pull away. "Don't stop," Naomi said quietly. "Please." He hesitated, then continued reading. Naomi leaned against the doorframe and listened, her throat tight. Watched this dangerous man reading fairy tales to a traumatized child, his voice steady and patient. When the story ended, Lucia touched the book cover gently. Then she stood and walked to Naomi, slipping her small hand into hers. "Thank you," Naomi said to Dante. He just nodded, already standing, pulling the walls back up. She couldn't sleep. "I heard her in the hallway." "So you read to her." It seemed better than letting her wander. He set the book on the desk, not meeting Naomi's eyes. "My daughter used to like that one. Maybe Lucia would like to hear more, later." Dante's jaw worked. Maybe. That afternoon, Naomi explored further and found Dante's private library, shelves of books, from floor to ceiling. Not just business texts and technical manuals, but novels, classics, poetry, children's books hidden on a lower shelf. She pulled one out. The pages were worn, read many times. A story about a teddy bear and a boy who loved him. Her eyes stung. "Take whatever you want." Naomi jumped. Dante stood in the doorway, watching her, always watching. "These were hers?" Naomi asked. "Your daughter's?" "Yes. I brought them here after—" He trailed off. "After she left. Why? I don't know." He stepped into the room, looking at the shelves like they held painful memories. "Maybe I thought if I kept them close, she'd still feel close too. Foolish. It's not foolish. It's love. Love isn't enough. Not when you've done the damage I have." Naomi set the book down and turned to face him. "My sister used to say that love is a choice you make every day, even on the days when it's hard, especially on those days." "Your sister sounds wise." She was. Naomi's voice cracked slightly. "Until she wasn't here anymore." They stood there in the library, two people haunted by loss, neither knowing how to bridge the distance. Then Lucia appeared in the doorway. She walked straight to the bookshelf, pulled out the teddy bear story Naomi had been holding, and brought it to Dante. She looked up at him, the book held out like an offering. Dante stared down at her, something breaking open in his expression. Slowly, carefully, he took the book. "You want me to read it?" he asked. Lucia nodded. Dante looked at Naomi, something desperate in his eyes, like he was asking permission, or maybe forgiveness. "Go ahead," Naomi said softly. So Dante sat down on the library floor, his back against the bookshelf, and Lucia sat beside him, not touching but close, and he read. Naomi watched from the doorway, her heart full and breaking at the same time. This was healing, she realized. Messy and painful and slow, but real. When the story ended, Lucia stood and walked back to Naomi. But she paused at the door and looked back at Dante. Then so quietly Naomi almost missed it, she hummed. Just a few notes of the lullaby. Dante's head snapped up. His eyes were wide, shocked, almost afraid. Lucia stopped humming and disappeared down the hallway. Naomi and Dante stared at each other across the library. The air felt charged, heavy with meaning. "She hummed," Dante said, his voice rough. "Did you hear it?" "Yes. I haven't heard that song in 3 years. Not since—" He stood abruptly, the book falling from his hands. "My wife used to sing it. To our daughter. Every night. Lucia hums it sometimes," Naomi said. "My sister sang it to her too. It's the same song. Maybe that's not a coincidence." Dante walked to the window, his shoulders tense. "What am I supposed to do with this?" "What do you mean?" "She hummed for me. A child who doesn't speak, who I just met, hummed a song I haven't heard in years. What does that mean?" Naomi stepped closer. "Maybe it means she feels safe with you. Maybe it means you're not as broken as you think. Or maybe it means I'm giving her hope I can't fulfill." Dante's voice was bitter. "I can't even face my own daughter. How am I supposed to help yours?" She's my niece, and you already are helping. You read to her, you listen to her. That's more than most people do." Dante turned, and for the first time, Naomi saw the full weight of his pain. "I don't know how to be what they need. Any of them. Maybe you start by trying, by showing up, by reading one story at a time." They stood there 3 feet apart, the distance feeling both too much and not enough. Naomi's heart raced. She didn't understand this pull she felt toward him, this dangerous man who'd turned her life upside down, but it was there, real and undeniable. "I found something this morning," Dante said, changing the subject abruptly. "Under Lucia's pillow." He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket and held it out. Naomi took it, unfolded it carefully. It was a drawing, crayons on white paper, 3 figures holding hands, one tall with dark hair, Dante, one curvy with a bright dress, Naomi, one small in the middle, Lucia. They were standing in front of a house, smiling. Naomi's breath caught. "When did she draw this?" "Last night, I think. I found colored pencils in the guest room. They must have been there already." "For your daughter?" "Yes." Dante's voice was barely above a whisper. "Lucia drew us as a family." Naomi stared at the picture, her vision blurring. It was so simple, so innocent, so impossible. "She feels safe here," Dante continued. "With you, and somehow with me too. Despite everything. Children see things we don't," Naomi said. "They see who we are under all the walls we build. Then what does she see in me?" Naomi looked up at him, at this man who terrified her and protected her and confused her all at once. Someone who's trying. Someone who still has love to give, even if he doesn't believe it. Dante's expression cracked. Just for a moment, Naomi saw past all his defenses to the man underneath. Lost, lonely, desperate for connection, but afraid to reach for it. "I should get back to work," he said, pulling away, rebuilding his walls. "Gio will bring lunch soon." He left the library quickly, like he was running from something. Naomi stood there holding the drawing, her heart aching. Later that day, she found the picture framed and sitting on Dante's desk. He'd kept it, protected it, like it mattered. That night, after Lucia fell asleep, Naomi couldn't settle. She paced the bedroom, restless and confused. Finally, she ventured out into the hallway. The penthouse was quiet. Most of the lights were off. She followed the sound of music to the media room and found Dante there, sitting in the dark, a glass in his hand, staring at nothing. "Can't sleep?" she asked from the doorway. "Never could." He didn't look at her, even before all this. Naomi stepped into the room. "Can I ask you something?" "You'll ask anyway. Why did you really help me that day, when the thief grabbed my purse?" Dante was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice low. "Because when I watched you walk into that cafe, something in me woke up, something I thought was dead. And when I saw you in danger, I couldn't." He stopped, took a drink. "I couldn't let anything happen to you. You didn't even know me. I know, it doesn't make sense. Nothing about this makes sense." He finally looked at her, his eyes dark in the dim light. "But from the moment you looked at me and said, 'Good thing I didn't ask to be,' something changed. You weren't afraid of me, you weren't impressed by me, you just saw me and called me out. Is that so rare? In my world, yes." He set down his glass. "Everyone wants something from me. Power, money, protection. Everyone's afraid or ambitious or both, but you just wanted me to leave you alone." "I still want that," Naomi said, but the words felt hollow. "Liar." Dante stood, moving closer. Not threatening, just present. "You're here, aren't you? In the middle of the night, talking to me when you could be sleeping. I'm here because I can't figure you out. Good. Don't try." He was close now, close enough that she could see the tiredness in his eyes, the shadow of stubble on his jaw. "The less you understand about me, the safer you are. I'm already not safe. You said so yourself. Then let me keep you safe. Stop fighting me." "I can't." Naomi's voice came out barely above a whisper. "If I stop fighting, I'll start feeling things I shouldn't feel." "Like what?" She shouldn't say it, shouldn't admit it, but the darkness made her brave. "Like maybe you're not just the villain in this story. Like maybe there's more to you than danger and control. Like maybe—" She stopped, swallowed hard. "Like maybe I understand why Lucia drew us as a family." The air between them crackled. Dante's hand lifted, almost touching her face, then dropped. "You should go to bed." "Why?" "Because if you stay here, I'm going to do something we'll both regret." "What if I wouldn't regret it?" "You would." His voice was rough, pained. "Eventually you would." Naomi stood there, her heart pounding, wanting and not wanting at the same time. Then she turned and walked away, back to the safety of the guest room, back to Lucia and reality. But she felt Dante's eyes on her the whole way, and she knew somehow that everything had changed. The next morning, Naomi woke to find a note slipped under the bedroom door. Gio will take Lucia to the playroom on the second floor. You and I need to talk. Naomi's stomach tightened. After last night, after everything she'd almost said, facing him felt impossible, but she couldn't hide forever. She got Lucia dressed and fed, then watched as Gio led her away with surprising gentleness. The big man had brought toys from somewhere, puzzles and dolls and coloring books. Lucia went without protest, clutching a new teddy bear. Alone, Naomi made her way to Dante's office. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, his back to her, still in yesterday's clothes, like he hadn't slept at all. You wanted to talk? Naomi said from the doorway. Come in, close the door. She did, her heart hammering. The office felt smaller with just the two of them, the air heavy. Dante turned. His eyes were shadowed, tired, but focused entirely on her. I need you to understand something about me, about my past. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He moved to his desk, leaned against it. 5 years ago, I made a deal with Rico Santini, a business arrangement that went wrong. People died, his brother died, and Rico blamed me. Naomi's breath caught. Did you kill him? Not directly, but I gave the order that put him in the line of fire. Dante's voice was flat, emotionless. In my world, that's the same thing. So he wants revenge. He wants me to suffer the way he suffered, losing someone you love. Dante's jaw tightened. That's why my wife's death wasn't an accident. The words hung in the air like a gunshot. What? Naomi whispered. The complications during childbirth, they weren't random. Rico had someone in the hospital, someone who made sure the doctors were delayed, that the right equipment wasn't available, that everything went wrong. Dante's hands curled into fists. I didn't know until a year later. By then I'd already pushed everyone away, including my daughter. Dante, I blamed myself for the wrong reasons, he continued, his voice rough. I thought I'd failed to protect her. I thought the universe was punishing me for my sins, but it was murder, calculated and cruel. And by the time I found out, I'd already destroyed my relationship with my daughter. I'd made her afraid of me, made her silent. Naomi moved closer, her heart breaking. That's not your fault, isn't it? I chose this life. I chose violence and power, and everyone around me pays the price. He finally looked at her, his eyes raw. That's why you need to understand. Being near me is dangerous. Caring about me is deadly. Rico proved that. Is that why you don't see your daughter? Because you think he'll hurt her? He already did, by taking her mother, by making me into the kind of man who pushes his own child away. Dante's voice cracked. And now he's watching you, watching Lucia, ready to do the same thing all over again. Naomi's legs felt weak. She sank into the chair across from his desk. So what do we do? I end it. I finish this war Rico started. Dante's expression hardened. But first I need you to understand why I've kept my distance. Last night you said things that... He stopped, swallowed hard. That made me want things I can't have. What things? You. A life where Lucia's drawing could be real, where I could be the man in that picture instead of the monster I actually am. He turned away. But that's not possible. Not for someone like me. You're not a monster, Naomi said quietly. You don't know what I've done. I know you read to Lucia. I know you kept her drawing. I know you broke down in the hallway when you heard her hum. Naomi stood, moved closer. I know you sent locks and groceries because you were worried. I know you're trying. Trying isn't enough. Maybe it's a start. She was standing right in front of him now, close enough to see the pain in his eyes, the exhaustion in the lines of his face. You asked me what I saw in you. I see someone who's been hurt, someone who's carrying guilt that isn't entirely his to carry, someone who's afraid to hope. Hope gets people killed in my world. Then maybe your world needs to change. Dante stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Yearning, fear, want. You make it sound simple. Nothing about this is simple. Naomi's voice trembled. I shouldn't feel anything for you. You've turned my life upside down. You're keeping us prisoner, even if it's for our safety. You're dangerous and controlling and everything I should run from. Then why aren't you running? Because Lucia hummed for you. Because you understand loss in a way most people don't. Because when you look at me, I don't feel invisible. The words tumbled out, honest and terrifying. And because I think you need someone to stop letting you believe you're beyond redemption. Naomi, tell me I'm wrong, she challenged. Tell me you don't feel this too, whatever this is. Dante's control cracked. He reached out, his hand cupping her face, thumb brushing her cheek. His touch was gentle, reverent, nothing like the cold violence he showed the world. I feel it, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. God help me, I feel it. From the moment you walked into that cafe, but feeling it and acting on it are different things. Why? Because everyone I've ever loved has been hurt because of me. My wife, my daughter. I won't add you to that list. What if I'm willing to take that risk? I'm not. He dropped his hand, stepped back, rebuilding his walls. I'll keep you safe. I'll end this threat. But that's all I can give you. Anything more would be selfish. Naomi's chest ached. She wanted to argue, to push, to make him see that hiding from connection wasn't the same as protection. But the pain in his eyes stopped her. Okay, she said softly, but answer one question. If things were different, if you weren't who you are, if I wasn't in danger, would you want this? Want us? Dante looked at her for a long moment. Then he spoke, honest and devastating. More than anything, the admission hung between them, heavy and impossible. But things aren't different, he continued, and wanting isn't enough. Before Naomi could respond, Gio burst through the door, his face urgent. We have a problem. Vera Santini just entered the building. Dante's entire demeanor changed. Cold, focused, dangerous. How did she get past security? She has a key. From when you two were... Gio trailed off, glancing at Naomi. Before. Get Naomi to the safe room, now. No, Naomi said. Who is she? My ex-fiancé and Rico's cousin. Dante was already moving, pulling a gun from his desk drawer. Which means she's not here for a social call. I'm not hiding while you... This isn't a discussion. Dante's voice was pure command. Gio, take her. Gio reached for Naomi's arm, but she pulled away. If she's here because of me, I deserve to face her. She'll destroy you with words alone. Vera knows exactly where to cut. Dante's eyes were fierce. Please, trust me on this. The elevator dinged in the hallway. High heels clicked against marble. Too late, Gio muttered. A woman appeared in the doorway, and Naomi's stomach dropped. She was beautiful, tall, thin, perfectly dressed in designer clothes. Dark hair, sharp eyes, a smile like a knife. Dante, darling, she purred. You didn't tell me you'd replaced me so quickly. Dante moved between Vera and Naomi, his body a shield. Get out, Vera. You're not welcome here. I still have a key, don't I? That means I'm welcome enough. Vera's eyes slid past him to Naomi, assessing, dissecting. So this is her. The one Rico's so interested in. I can see why he's confused. She's so different from your usual type. Leave, Dante said, his voice deadly quiet. In a moment, I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Vera stepped further into the room, her heels clicking. Tell me, sweetheart, do you know what you're getting into? Did Dante tell you about the bodies? The blood? The way he uses people up and throws them away? That's enough. Dante's hand was on his gun. Or did he feed you some line about protection? About keeping you safe? Vera laughed, sharp and cruel. That's always his best story. He told me the same thing once, right before everything fell apart. Naomi's hands trembled, but she lifted her chin. I know exactly who he is. Do you? Vera moved closer, circling like a predator. Do you know he let his wife die? That he couldn't even look at his own daughter after? That he sent that poor child away rather than face what he'd done? Vera, I'm warning you. And now here you are, playing house with him. You and your little orphan. How sweet. Vera's smile was vicious. Tell me, what happens when Rico decides to take her? When he uses that child the way Dante's daughter was used? Will Dante protect you then? Or will he add you to his list of casualties? Stop talking, Naomi said, her voice shaking with anger. You don't know anything about us. I know everything, darling. I know Rico's planning something big. I know your little girl isn't as safe as you think. And I know that when Dante finally fails, and he will fail, you'll be the one who pays for it. Vera's eyes glittered, just like his wife did. Dante moved so fast Naomi barely saw it. One moment he was standing still, the next he had Vera by the throat, pressed against the wall, his face inches from hers. You will never, he said, each word carved from ice, speak about my wife again. You will never threaten Naomi or Lucia. And if you come near them, if you so much as breathe in their direction, I will forget that we have history, do you understand? Vera's face had gone pale, but her smile remained. There he is, the monster. I was wondering when he'd show up. I mean it, Vera. Touch her again and you'll bleed for it. Such passion. Almost makes me jealous. Vera's voice was strained, but defiant. Rico was right. You do care about her. How inconvenient for you. Dante released her, stepping back. Gio, escort Ms. Santini out. If she resists, use whatever force necessary. Vera straightened her clothes, her composure returning. I'll go. I got what I came for. She looked at Naomi one last time. Enjoy your time with him, sweetheart. However long it lasts. Gio grabbed her arm, not gently, and dragged her toward the elevator. Vera went without further protest, but her laughter echoed down the hallway. When they were gone, Dante turned to Naomi. His hands were shaking. Are you okay? She said Rico's planning something with Lucia. She was trying to scare you. It worked. Naomi's voice broke. What if she's right? What if he goes after her? He won't. I won't let him. Dante moved closer, his hands hovering near her shoulders, wanting to touch but holding back. I promise you, Naomi, nothing will happen to Lucia. You can't promise that. Not really. Then watch me. His eyes were fierce, determined. I've failed people before. I won't fail you. Naomi stared at him, this dangerous man making impossible promises, and despite everything, despite Vera's words, despite the fear, despite logic, she believed him. Okay, she whispered. Okay. They stood there, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. Then footsteps sounded in the hallway. Lucia appeared, clutching her teddy bear, her face scared. She heard the shouting, Gio said quietly. I couldn't keep her in the playroom. Lucia ran to Naomi, burying her face against her side. Naomi held her close, stroking her hair. It's okay, baby, everything's okay. But Lucia was trembling, and when Naomi looked down, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Lucia's hands were stained with crayon, red crayon, and on the floor of the playroom, visible through the open door, was a new drawing. 3 figures, the same 3 from before, Dante, Naomi, Lucia. But this time, they weren't smiling. They were surrounded by flames, and standing in the background watching was a 4th figure, dark and menacing. Dante saw it too. His face went white. When did she draw that? Just now, Gio said. I turned my back for 1 minute and she... That's not just a drawing, Dante said, his voice tight. That's a warning. Naomi's arms tightened around Lucia. What does it mean? It means Rico's escalating, faster than I expected. Dante pulled out his phone, already dialing. It means we need to move tonight. Move where? The safe house in the hills. It's isolated, heavily guarded, off every grid. He spoke rapidly into the phone, giving orders. When he ended the call, he looked at Naomi. Pack what you need. We leave in an hour. Dante, this isn't optional anymore, Naomi. Vera's visit wasn't a coincidence. Rico sent her to confirm you were here, to gauge how much I care. His jaw tightened. Now he knows. And that makes everything more dangerous. Naomi wanted to argue, but Lucia's trembling stopped her. This wasn't about her anymore, it was about keeping Lucia safe. That was all that mattered. Okay, she said. We'll go. Dante nodded, relief flickering across his face. Then he knelt down in front of Lucia. The little girl looked at him with wide, scared eyes. I need you to be brave, Dante said softly. Can you do that for me? Lucia stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly, she nodded. Good girl. Dante's voice was gentle. I'm going to keep you safe, both of you, I promise. Lucia did something then that shocked them all. She reached out and touched Dante's face, just her small hand against his scarred, dangerous face. A gesture of trust, of connection. Dante's eyes closed, his breath shuddered, and for just a moment Naomi saw the man he could be, the father he wanted to be, the person hiding underneath all the violence. Then the moment passed. Dante stood, walls back up, control restored. 1 hour. Don't bring anything unnecessary. He walked away, already barking orders into his phone. Naomi stood there holding Lucia, staring at the drawing on the floor. Fire and danger, threat and fear, but also 3 figures standing together, not running, not hiding, facing whatever came as one. The safe house was nothing like the penthouse. They drove for 2 hours into the hills, the city lights fading behind them. The roads got rougher, more isolated. Finally, they turned onto a hidden driveway that wound through dense trees. The house appeared suddenly, not large but solid, stone and wood, built into the hillside, surrounded by high fences and security cameras. Armed men patrolled the perimeter. Home sweet home, Gio muttered, parking the SUV. Inside, the house was warmer than the penthouse. Lived in, comfortable furniture, soft lighting, a fireplace already crackling. It felt like someone actually used this place, not just stored it. My mother decorated, Dante said, seeing Naomi's expression. Before she moved to the country with my daughter, she thought we might use it for family visits. Do you? No. The word was flat, final. Gio showed them to a bedroom upstairs, smaller than the penthouse suite, but cozy. 2 beds, a bathroom, a window overlooking the dark forest. Dante's room is next door, Gio said. I'll be downstairs. There are 6 men on the property at all times. You're safe here. After he left, Naomi got Lucia ready for bed. The little girl was exhausted, her eyes drooping, but she fought sleep, clinging to Naomi. I know, baby, Naomi whispered. I know you're scared, but we're okay. Dante won't let anything happen to us. Lucia's eyes searched hers, questioning, trusting, hoping. Yes, Naomi said, answering the unspoken question. He's one of the good ones, even if he doesn't believe it. Finally, Lucia slept. Naomi tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and stepped out into the hallway. The house was quiet, peaceful. She found Dante downstairs in the kitchen, making coffee. He'd changed into jeans and a dark shirt. No suit, no armor, just a man, tired and worn. Couldn't sleep? He asked without turning around. No? You? Haven't really slept in 3 years. He poured 2 cups, handed her one. Comes with the territory. They sat at the kitchen table, silence stretching between them. Outside, an owl hooted. Wind rustled through the trees. Thank you, Naomi said finally, for all of this, for protecting us. You don't need to thank me. This is my fault. We've been through this. It's not. Then whose fault is it? Dante's voice was rough. I'm the one who drew Rico's attention to you. I'm the one who put you in danger. I'm the reason you can't go home. Maybe it's no one's fault. Maybe it's just life. Things happen, bad things, and we deal with them. Naomi wrapped her hands around the warm mug. My sister used to say that life doesn't ask permission to change. It just does. And we either adapt or break. She really was wise. She was. Until a drunk driver took her from us. Naomi's throat tightened. No warning, no goodbye, just gone. And Lucia and I had to adapt. I'm sorry. Me too. Naomi looked at him across the table. But I'm also grateful. Because Lucia is alive. Because she has a chance to heal. Because people like you exist, even if you don't want to admit you're one of the good ones. I'm not. You are. Naomi's voice was firm. You read to her. You kept her drawing. You noticed she wasn't eating and sent groceries. You dropped everything to keep us safe. That's not the behavior of a monster, Dante. He stared into his coffee, jaw working. What if I told you I've killed people, more than I can count? I'd ask if they deserved it. Some did. Some didn't. Some I'm not sure about. His hands tightened around his mug. Does that change how you see me? Naomi considered. Honest. It should, but it doesn't. Why not? Because I see what you do now. How you treat Lucia. How you blame yourself for things outside your control. How you're trying even when you think trying isn't enough. She leaned forward. We all have pasts, Dante. Things we regret. Things we can't undo. But we're not defined by those things unless we choose to be. That's easier said than done. Most important things are. They sat in silence again, but it felt different now. Comfortable, connected. I spoke to my mother today, Dante said suddenly. About my daughter. Naomi's heart jumped. What did you say? That I wanted to see her. That I was ready. He swallowed hard. She said my daughter asks about me sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. What does she ask? If I'm coming back. If I still love her. His voice cracked. My mother tells her yes, but I don't know if that's true anymore. If it's possible to love someone you've hurt so badly. Of course it is, Naomi said fiercely. Love doesn't disappear because we make mistakes. It just gets buried under guilt and fear. But it's still there. How do you know? Because you kept her books. Because you broke down in the hallway when Lucia hummed. Because you're sitting here at midnight, drinking coffee, and finally admitting you want to try. Naomi reached across the table, covered his hand with hers. That's love, Dante. Messy and imperfect and scared. But real. His hand turned under hers, fingers intertwining. His touch was warm, solid, real. What if I fail? What if I try to see her and she's too afraid? What if I make things worse? Then you try again and again until she believes you're not going anywhere. Naomi squeezed his hand. That's what parents do. They show up, even when it's hard. Dante looked at their joined hands, something vulnerable in his expression. You make it sound possible. It is possible. You just have to believe it. I don't know if I can. Then believe I believe it. Let that be enough for now. He looked up, met her eyes, and for the first time since she'd met him, Dante Moretti smiled. Small, tentative, but real. Okay, he said softly. Okay. They sat there, hands joined, something shifting between them. Not just attraction or connection, but understanding, recognition. Two broken people trying to heal, trying to hope. I should get back upstairs, Naomi said eventually, though she didn't want to move, in case Lucia wakes up. I'll walk you. They climbed the stairs together, still holding hands. At her bedroom door they paused. The hallway was dark, intimate. Every breath felt weighted. Naomi, Dante said, his voice low. What you said earlier, about feeling things you shouldn't feel. Yes, I need you to know. He stopped, struggled, then continued. You're not just my type. You're the only thing that feels right. In years. Maybe ever. Naomi's breath caught. Dante, I know it's wrong. I know I shouldn't say it. But you asked for honesty and I... He stopped, jaw clenching. I needed you to know. Why tell me now? Because tomorrow I have to meet with Rico, face to face. And I don't know if I'm coming back. Fear lanced through her. What? It's the only way to end this. A direct negotiation, my life for yours and Lucia's safety. His hand came up, cupped her face. If something happens to me, Gio will take care of you, get you somewhere safe, give you a new start. No, Naomi grabbed his wrist. You're not doing this, you're not sacrificing yourself. It's already decided. Then undecided. You just said you wanted to see your daughter. You can't do that if you're dead. I can't do it if you're dead either. His thumb brushed her cheek. And Rico won't stop, not until he gets what he wants. If trading my life for yours ends this, it's worth it. Not to me. Tears filled Naomi's eyes. Not to Lucia. She needs you, Dante. And so do I. Naomi, you said you feel this too. This connection. So feel it. Let it matter. Choose to stay. She pressed closer, her voice breaking. Choose us. Dante's control shattered. He pulled her against him, his arms wrapping around her, his face buried in her hair. I don't know how, he whispered. I don't know how to choose anything good anymore. You start with one choice right now. Naomi pulled back, looked into his eyes. Stay, live, fight for the future instead of dying for the past. What if I fail? Then we fail together. But at least we tried. Dante stared at her, something cracking open in his expression. Hope, desperate and terrified, and real. Then he kissed her, soft at first, tentative, like he was afraid she'd disappear. Naomi kissed him back, her hands sliding up to his face, holding him close. The kiss deepened, turned hungry, years of loneliness and pain pouring into the connection. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. I can't promise I won't mess this up, he said. I'm not asking for perfect, just present. Okay. He kissed her again, softer this time. Okay. He pulled away reluctantly, stepped back. Get some sleep. We'll figure out tomorrow when it comes. Together? Together. Naomi slipped into the bedroom, her heart racing, her lips still tingling. She climbed into bed beside Lucia, the little girl's breathing steady and peaceful. And for the first time in months, Naomi let herself hope. Morning came too quickly. Naomi woke to find Lucia already up, sitting by the window, watching the sunrise paint the hills gold. She looked peaceful, almost content. Morning, baby, Naomi said softly. Lucia turned, and something in her expression had changed. The fear was still there, but underneath it was something else. Strength, maybe, or determination. Downstairs, voices drifted up. Dante's, sharp and focused. Gio's, questioning. Other men Naomi didn't recognize. She got Lucia dressed and headed down. The kitchen was full of armed men, all standing around the table where maps and photos were spread out. Battle plans, strategy. Dante saw her and immediately moved to intercept. You should stay upstairs. No, Naomi's voice was firm. If you're planning something that affects us, I deserve to know. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. Clear the room, he told the others. The men filed out, leaving just Dante, Naomi, Lucia, and Gio. Dante gestured to the maps. Rico's moved up his timeline. He's not waiting for me to come to him. He's coming here. Naomi's blood ran cold. When? Soon. Maybe today. Maybe tonight. Dante's expression was grim. We have good defenses, but if he brings enough men... We're sitting ducks, Gio finished. So what do we do? Naomi asked, holding Lucia close. We have two options. Stay and fight, with the risk that Rico breaks through. Or I go to him first. Meet him on neutral ground. End this before it comes here. The second option, Naomi said. That's the one where you die. Maybe, maybe not. Those aren't good odds. They're better than the alternative. Dante moved closer, his voice dropping. If he comes here, if there's a firefight with Lucia in the house, don't. Naomi's voice shook. Don't make me choose between your life and hers. That's not fair. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm telling you what I've already decided. Anger flashed through her. Last night you promised we'd figure it out together. That means you don't get to make these decisions alone. Last night was a mistake. The words hit like a slap. Naomi stepped back, hurt flooding through her. A mistake. I shouldn't have kissed you. I shouldn't have made you hope. Dante's face was stone, but his eyes betrayed him. Pain, regret. I can't be what you need, and pretending otherwise was selfish. You're lying. Naomi's voice trembled with emotion. You're pushing me away because you're scared. I'm pushing you away because it's the right thing to do. The right thing is staying alive. The right thing is fighting for the people who care about you. Tears burned in her eyes. The right thing is not throwing your life away because you think you don't deserve to be happy. Happiness isn't for men like me. That's bullshit, and you know it. Naomi's voice rose. You're not doing this for us. You're doing it because it's easier than trying, easier than facing your daughter, easier than letting someone love you. The word hung between them. Love. She'd said it. Out loud. Real. Dante's control cracked. You can't love me. Too late. Naomi, I love you, she said, the words rushing out. I don't know when it happened or how, but I do. And so does Lucia. You read to her. You kept her safe. You made her feel like she mattered. That's love, Dante, and you're throwing it away. I'm trying to keep you alive. We're already alive. We want you alive too. Naomi was crying now, angry and desperate and terrified. You talk about protecting us, but you're going to destroy us if you do this. Lucia's already lost her mother. She can't lose you too. She barely knows me. She drew you as family. She hummed for you. She touched your face. Naomi moved closer, her voice breaking. You matter to her. You matter to me. And if you leave, if you go to Rico knowing you might not come back, you're choosing death over us, over the future we could have. Dante's hands clenched into fists. What future? One where you're always in danger? Where Lucia grows up surrounded by violence? Where I drag you both into my darkness? One where we're together, where we try, where we fight for something better. Naomi grabbed his shirt, forced him to look at her. You said I'm the only thing that feels right, so prove it, stay, fight, live. I don't know how. Then let me teach you. They stood there, inches apart, everything raw and exposed. Dante's breathing was ragged, his eyes searching hers, looking for answers, for hope, for permission to believe. Then Lucia moved. She walked slowly across the kitchen, her small hand reaching out. She tugged on Dante's sleeve, looked up at him with those huge, trusting eyes, and she spoke. Stay. The word was barely a whisper, hoarse from months of disuse, but clear, unmistakable. The room went silent. Naomi's hand flew to her mouth. Gio froze in the doorway. Dante stared down at Lucia like she'd performed a miracle. What did you say? Dante's voice cracked. Stay, Lucia repeated, stronger this time. Please stay. Dante dropped to his knees, eye level with her. His hands were shaking. Lucia, don't go. Tears filled the little girl's eyes. I don't want you to die like Mommy. Dante's face crumpled. He pulled Lucia into his arms, holding her like she was made of glass. I won't. I promise. I won't. Lucia clung to him, sobbing now. Real tears, real sounds, everything she'd held inside for 8 months pouring out. I was so scared, so scared. I know, baby, I know. Dante's voice was wrecked. But you're safe now. You're both safe, and I'm not going anywhere. Naomi sank to her knees beside them, wrapping her arms around them both. The three of them huddled on the kitchen floor, holding each other, crying together. Gio turned away, giving them privacy. When the tears finally subsided, Lucia pulled back and looked at Dante. You promise? I promise. Dante wiped her tears with his thumb. I'll find another way. A way that doesn't end with me gone. Good. Lucia's voice was still rough, but determined. 'Cause Naomi loves you and I love you too. Dante's breath caught. He looked at Naomi over Lucia's head, his eyes wet and vulnerable and completely open. I love you too, he said. To Lucia, to Naomi, to both of them. Both of you. More than I thought possible. Naomi kissed his forehead, his cheek, his lips, soft and gentle and full of promise. Then we figure this out. Together. No more lone wolf heroics. Together, Dante agreed. Gio cleared his throat. Hate to interrupt, But we still have a problem. Rico's not going to wait just because we're having a moment. Dante stood, pulling Naomi and Lucia with him. His expression had changed. Still fierce, still determined, but different now, like he had something worth fighting for. Then we changed the game, he said. Rico thinks I'm alone, isolated, desperate. Let's show him he's wrong. The plan came together quickly. Dante made calls, lots of calls. Men he'd worked with, men who owed him favors, men who respected his power. Within hours, the safe house was surrounded by reinforcements. Not just Gio's team, but allies from across the city. Rico wants a war, Dante told Naomi, but wars require two sides. I'm betting he doesn't have as much support as he thinks. What if you're wrong? Then we adapt. He squeezed her hand. Together. Remember? That afternoon, while Dante coordinated with his men, Naomi took Lucia outside for fresh air. Armed guards watched from every angle, but for a moment they could pretend everything was normal. Lucia picked wildflowers from the hillside, humming softly. Her voice was still rough, but it was there. Present. Real. You spoke, Naomi said, sitting beside her in the grass. You saved him. He needed me to, Lucia said simply. Like you need me to. Oh, baby. Naomi pulled her close. I always need you. You're my whole world. But you love him too. Yes. Is that okay? Lucia thought about it, serious and careful. Mommy used to say, love makes families, not blood. She looked up at Naomi. Does that mean Dante's family now? If you want him to be. I do. Lucia's voice was certain. He reads good, and he's not scared of the bad dreams. No, he's not. And he makes you smile. The real smile, not the sad one you do when you think I'm not looking. Naomi's chest ached. You're very smart. You know that? Mommy said I got it from you. They sat there in the afternoon sun, surrounded by danger but feeling safe, together. Family. That evening, everything changed. Naomi was helping Lucia get ready for bed when she heard it. A car approaching. Fast. Too fast. She ran to the window. A black sedan speeding up the drive. It screeched to a stop and a man stumbled out, bleeding. One of Dante's sentries. They're coming, he shouted. Now! Dante appeared instantly, grabbing the man, getting the story. Naomi couldn't hear the words, but she saw Dante's face go white, then hard. He ran inside, took the stairs 3 at a time. When he burst into the bedroom, his eyes were wild. We have to move. Now. Rico's men are 10 minutes out. But you said, I was wrong. He has more support than I thought. Dante was already pulling bags from the closet, throwing clothes inside. We can't hold them off. Not with what we have. Where do we go? There's a bunker. Underground. Hidden. It'll keep you safe until this is over. Fear clawed at Naomi's throat. What about you? I'll lead them away. Make them follow me. No! Lucia's voice rang out, sharp and terrified. You promised. Dante knelt in front of her, his hands on her shoulders. I promised I wouldn't leave you, and I won't. Not forever, but right now I need to keep you safe, both of you. That means drawing them away from here. You'll come back? Lucia's voice trembled. I'll come back, I swear. Promise on Mommy. The promise that can't be broken. Dante's eyes filled. I promise on your mother's memory. On my wife's memory. On everything I am. I will come back. Lucia threw her arms around his neck. Dante held her tight, his face pressed against her hair. Then he stood, looked at Naomi. The bunker is in the East Woods. Gio will take you. There's food, water, supplies for days if needed. Dante, listen to me. He grabbed her face, kissed her hard and desperate. I love you. Remember that. No matter what happens, I love you. Then don't go. I have to. It's the only way. He kissed her again, softer. Take care of her. And yourself. Be ready to run if I don't come back. You're coming back. I hope so. He smiled, sad and beautiful. God, I hope so. Gunfire erupted in the distance, shouts, chaos. Go! Dante pushed them toward the door where Gio waited. Now! Naomi grabbed Lucia's hand and ran, down the stairs, out the back, into the dark woods. Gio led them at a sprint, branches whipping past, the sounds of battle growing louder behind them. They reached a hidden door in the hillside. Gio yanked it open, revealing stairs leading down into darkness. Inside! Quickly! Naomi and Lucia stumbled down the stairs. The bunker was small but solid. Concrete walls, supplies stacked everywhere, a single cot in the corner. Lock it behind me, Gio said. Don't open it for anyone but Dante or me. Password is sanctuary. You're leaving? Naomi asked, terrified. Dante needs backup. I won't let him face this alone. Gio's expression softened. He loves you, you know. Really loves you. I've never seen him like this. Then keep him alive. That's the plan. Gio disappeared up the stairs. The door slammed shut. A lock clicked, and then silence. Naomi and Lucia stood in the dim bunker, holding each other, listening to the muffled sounds of violence above. Gunfire, shouting, things breaking. "He'll come back," Lucia whispered. "He promised." "Yes, baby, he promised." But as the hours crawled past, as the sounds of battle faded to eerie quiet, Naomi's hope began to crack. What if he was wrong? What if Rico was too strong? What if the promise was one Dante couldn't keep? She held Lucia close, humming the lullaby, trying not to let fear consume her, trying to believe, trying to hope. Dawn was breaking when they heard it. Footsteps above, heavy, multiple sets. Naomi's heart hammered. She pulled Lucia behind her, searching for anything she could use as a weapon. The door rattled, someone testing it. Then a voice, rough and exhausted. "Naomi, it's me, Dante." Naomi lunged for the door, throwing the locks. It swung open and Dante stood there, bloodied and bruised, his shirt torn, his face scratched, but alive, breathing, real. "You came back," Naomi sobbed, throwing herself into his arms. "I promised." He held her tight, his body shaking. "I promised." Lucia appeared, grabbed his leg, crying. Dante dropped to his knees, pulling them both close, the three of them tangled together at the bunker entrance. "Is it over?" Naomi asked when she could finally speak. "Yes, Rico's dead, his men scattered." Dante's voice was hollow. "It's over. Did you—" "I had to. It was him or us." He pulled back, looked into her eyes. "I chose us." Naomi kissed him, desperate and relieved. Thank you for coming back. I'll always come back." He touched her face, his thumb brushing her tears. "You and Lucia, you're my family now, my reason." "What happens now?" Lucia asked, her voice small. Dante looked down at her, something soft in his expression. "Now we go home, real home, and we start building the life you drew in that picture. With all of us. All of us." Dante lifted her into his arms, stood with Naomi at his side. "We're done running, done hiding. From now on we face everything together." They walked out of the bunker into the morning light. The safe house was damaged, windows broken, bullet holes in the walls. But it was standing. They were standing. Gio appeared from around the house, limping but grinning. "Told you he'd make it." "Never doubted him," Naomi lied. Liar. But Gio's smile was gentle. Over the next days, things slowly settled. The authorities came, asked questions, left satisfied with Dante's story of self-defense. Rico's organization crumbled without his leadership. The threat, finally, was gone. Dante made a call, to his mother, to his daughter. Naomi heard him on the phone, his voice nervous and hopeful and scared. "I want to see her, if she'll see me. Yes, I understand. Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Mum." When he hung up, there were tears on his face. She said, "Yes, my daughter wants to see me." "When?" "This weekend, at my mother's house." He looked at Naomi, vulnerable and terrified. "Will you come with me? Both of you?" "Of course," Naomi said. "We're family, remember?" That weekend, they made the drive to the country. A beautiful house on rolling hills, surrounded by gardens. An older woman stood on the porch, elegant and kind-faced, Dante's mother, and beside her a small girl with dark curls and Dante's eyes. 7 years old, silent, and watching. Dante got out of the car slowly, like he was afraid any sudden movement would shatter the moment. He walked toward the porch, stopped at the bottom of the stairs. "Hello, Elena," he said softly. "I've missed you." Elena stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked at Lucia, still sitting in the car with Naomi. Recognition flickered across her face. Another girl, another silent child who'd found her voice. Eleanor walked down the stairs, past her father, straight to the car. Naomi opened the door, and Lucia stepped out. The two girls looked at each other. Same age, same pain, same journey. "Hi," Lucia said. "I'm Lucia." Elena's eyes widened. Then, slowly, she spoke. Her voice was rusty but clear. "I'm Elena. Are you his daughter too?" "Kind of. He's teaching me to be brave." "Me too, I think." The girls smiled at each other. Then Elena looked back at her father standing frozen on the steps. "You came back," she said. "I did, and I'm never leaving again." Dante's voice broke. "I'm so sorry, Elena, for everything, for not being here, for pushing you away, for making you feel like you weren't loved." Was it because of me, because Mommy died? No, God, no. Dante moved closer, dropped to his knees. Your mother's death wasn't your fault. It was mine, for not protecting her. For not being fast enough, smart enough, strong enough. I blamed myself, and I was so lost in that blame I forgot to be your father. But you remember now. Yes, because these two amazing people reminded me what matters. He gestured to Naomi and Lucia. They showed me that family isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, about trying, about choosing love even when it's hard. Elena looked at Lucia again, at Naomi. Are they staying? If you want them to. Elena thought about it. Then she walked to her father, small and brave, and put her hand in his. Okay, they can stay. Dante broke. He pulled Elena into his arms and sobbed, months and years of grief and guilt pouring out. Elena held him, her small arms wrapped around his neck, and cried too, healing together. Naomi watched through tears, Lucia at her side. They'd done it. Against all odds, they'd built something real, a family. 1 year later, the cafe looked exactly the same. White marble, exposed brick, the smell of coffee and possibility. Naomi walked through the door, Lucia's hand in hers, and smiled. The place where everything started, where her life changed. Dante was already there, sitting in the back corner. Same table, same seat. But everything else was different. He wore a soft smile now. His eyes were warm instead of cold. And beside him sat Eleanor, coloring in a sketchbook. You're late, Dante said when they approached, but his tone was teasing. Traffic was terrible, Naomi replied, sliding into the booth beside him. Lucia climbed in next to Elena, and the two girls immediately put their heads together, whispering and giggling. Sisters now, not by blood, but by choice. Coffee? Dante asked, signaling the waiter. Always. They ordered, settled in, and Naomi let herself just breathe. This was real. This life, this family, this love, all of it real. I have something for you, Dante said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Naomi's heart stuttered. Dante, just open it. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, beautiful, and beside it, a note in Lucia and Elena's handwriting. Say yes. You recruited the girls? Naomi laughed through sudden tears. They insisted, said it wasn't fair to make them wait any longer. Dante took the ring, held it up. Naomi Blake, you walked into this cafe a year ago and changed my life. You made me believe in second chances, in family, in love. Will you marry me? Yes, Naomi whispered. Yes, yes, yes. He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise. Around them the cafe erupted in applause. The girls cheered. Even the waiter looked misty-eyed. When they finally pulled apart, Dante rested his forehead against hers. Thank you for saving me. We saved each other, Naomi corrected. That's what families do. What families do, he repeated, smiling. Then he looked at the girls, at the ring on Naomi's finger, at the future stretching ahead. I liked the sound of that. Later, as they walked out of the cafe hand in hand, both girls between them, Naomi thought about that first day, when she'd been dismissed, judged, and afraid. And now she was chosen, loved, home. The man who'd said she wasn't his type had been wrong. She wasn't just his type. She was his everything, his redemption, his future, and he was hers. They walked into the sunlight together, a family forged from broken pieces, and Naomi knew with absolute certainty that this was where she belonged. Not despite the journey, because of it. Every moment of fear, every tear, every choice had led here. To love, to hope, to home. And that was worth everything. The end